Hello, and welcome back to Teacher Tips by Ellipses Academy. In today's teacher tip video, we'll be going over how to incorporate your quotes with proper formatting in your work. So there are many different ways that you can incorporate evidence into the argument that you're writing for your essay, but whichever way you choose to use, you always need to make sure that, first off, it works with the flow of your argument, because your essay still needs to have a nice flow to it. And you also want to make sure that you're including proper formatting. So we're going to go through a couple of tips today to do that. When the evidence that you have won't fit into your argument in the exact way that it's presented in the original text, there are a couple of things that you can do to try and make it better. So here's some quick things to remember. Number one is using an ellipses. Now, ellipses are those three little dots, and they're used to show that you have taken something out of the original text that you're quoting from. So ellipses always show that something has been taken away. For example, let's say that the original quote was, "It also prevents cognitive decline and memory loss by strengthening the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning." And here I am using MLA formatting, but if you were choosing to use APA or Chicago style, then this would be a footnote rather than the author's last name in brackets. If you had already explained what the hippocampus was in your argument, you might not necessarily need to explain it again in your evidence. So you could change your original quote to, "It also prevents cognitive decline and memory loss by strengthening the hippocampus," and then that ellipses at the end there. Another thing that you can do to help the evidence flow into your work is use square brackets. Now, square brackets are the opposite of ellipses. Square brackets are used to show that you have added something to the original piece of evidence from the text. So this is something in your own words that is going into those square brackets to help you with your flow. For example, we'll keep the same original quote we used before, but this time, let's say that maybe you haven't told your audience yet that exercise specifically is what you're talking about. This is something that you can add to your evidence. So you would put exercise in square brackets, and notice how that replaces the "it" from the original text. So exercise also prevents cognitive decline and memory loss by strengthening the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. Note that you can use an ellipses or square bracket at any point throughout your piece of evidence, in the beginning, middle, or end. Another thing that you should be aware of is the use of using SIC in brackets. Now, this is only used really to show that there's an error in the original text that you still chose to incorporate into your work. So if you happen to have an error in the original that you're quoting from, you need to still acknowledge it so that your reader knows that you've acknowledged that as well. And that's how you do this, is just putting SIC in brackets beside the mistake. Now, I've just made up this particular sentence as an example. So proper sleep is essential for living a healthy life. Notice how I put the number 4 rather than spelling it out like I should have. So you could change that to proper sleep is essential for, and then I put the SIC in brackets beside it, living a healthy life. And that signifies to my reader that I'm aware that there's a mistake that has been made. Now, if your piece of evidence is longer than 3 lines is the general rule of thumb, then you also need to show more of a separation in your argument for the larger quote by indenting it separately within the paragraph itself. Now, because of this indent and being able to visually see that separation, you don't need to use quotation marks to open and close your evidence like we've done previously in our other examples. So for example, you would introduce your topic and start explaining your piece of evidence. Then you would give your indentation. So notice the indentation in the middle of your paragraph here before eventually giving your explanation that shows how your piece of evidence relates to your point and eventually your thesis as well, and then transitioning to your next argument. So this one you can see is definitely more than 3 lines. So it says, studies on mice and humans indicate that cardiovascular exercise creates new brain cells, a process called neurogenesis, and improve overall brain performance. It also prevents cognitive decline and memory loss by strengthening the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. Studies also prove that physical activity boosts creativity and mental energy. So if you need any other help with writing paragraphs, I will put a link to a previous teacher tip video that we've done before to help you with your paragraph writing. And also, if you're interested in this article, it is quite fascinating. So if you're interested more about how exercise helps our brain health, then I will post a link for that in the description as well for you. Now, sometimes using a direct quote is not necessarily what your argument needs, and using something like paraphrasing will work a little bit better. Now, what paraphrasing is taking somebody else's idea, but writing it in your own words. Because that idea is still not your original idea, you need to show and acknowledge that this is something you've taken from somebody else's work, which is why you still have to put that citation in to your paraphrasing, okay? So we're going to keep that same example of our original quote about the hippocampus. But if we were using paraphrasing, it might sound something like this. According to Dr. Charles, exercising helps to strengthen the hippocampus, which is an important part in maintaining a sharp mind. Now, in this example, we're using MLA formatting, so we put the author's last name in brackets there. If you're using Chicago or APA, then you would put a footnote instead. But notice how, even though we're still taking that same idea, we still need to give proper citation to that work. If you still have any questions about incorporating your evidence, please let us know in the comments below, and we will help you as best we can. Thank you for watching our video. We hope you found it helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos that teach you how to learn for life and get through school while taking care of yourself. Until next time, see you soon.